Okay, today I am trying out a new recipe that I got from Carbs Instagram page. This is their chicken broccoli Alfredo roll-ups. Now, I have not made these yet, so you'll get to follow along with me as I do. They look and smell delicious, so I can't wait to try them out. I made a few slight adjustments to their recipe just to lower the bites a little bit, but I will show you how I did that coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is not just someone else's, it's someone else's that I haven't even tried yet. And I am going to be doing a technique for cooking the chicken for this recipe that I have not tried yet. It's supposed to be a game changer, and we will find out if that is true, because that is what I'm going to start with. Usually I have all of my ingredients out, but not today. Today I am doing, there's a company called Carb. Many of you may have heard of them or even used their products. They have flatbreads, and I follow them on Instagram, and they had these chicken broccoli Alfredo roll-ups made with that flatbread that looked really good. I do not have their flatbread. Apparently you can only order it online, I guess, and I picked some up at the supermarket, some Lavash bread, Joseph's Lavash bread, but I will go over all that when I go over the ingredients. First, I have a pound of chicken. Now this was one breast that was just about like a little over a pound. So what I've done is I took it out of the refrigerator 30 minutes before I'm trying this technique. And I also, as you can see, split it in half down the middle because I want to make sure that center gets cooked through. I have poached chicken before and had issues. I don't want to have those issues today. Now I also have half of a lemon that I have left over and a little bit of basil. I'm going to use those as flavorings in the water to enhance the chicken breast. You don't have to add anything if you don't want to. From what I read, just doing this with the chicken breast is sufficient. This just gives it a little more flavor. All right, so I got this technique from Recipe Tin Eats. And a recipe tin is just like a little box that you keep your recipe cards in. And so that's where they got Recipe Tin Eats, apparently taking stuff out of that box. My water is boiling. You want to have water in a pot that will cover the chicken breast by about 2 inches. And now that it's boiling, I'm going to add in my flavor enhancers. Now you do not, from what I read, want to add salt or anything that is salted as a flavor enhancer because it will keep the water from boiling correctly and cooling down correctly. Apparently it interacts with the water. I don't know all the science behind it, I just know what I read. So what you want to do is you want to bring your, oh, I didn't put in my basil. Bring your water to a boil, add any flavorings that you want. Again, nothing with any salt, no bouillon, no salt, whatever. Then you're going to add in the chicken breast, and the water is going to stop boiling. So what you want to do now is put the lid on it, turn it off, and set it aside. Supposedly, this will be ready in about 20 minutes. That was for a half-pound breast that she had on her website. This is a pound, so she said you could leave it up to an hour and it wouldn't affect it too much. 45 minutes would be ideal. Apparently it's very juicy. What happens is the water is boiling at 212 degrees. You put the chicken in and chicken cooks. You want the chicken breast at 165. So what happens is now that it's off the heat, it's slowly going to come down in temperature. And meanwhile, it's going to cook the chicken, but not overcook it. That's the theory, and that's what I'm going with. So I'm going to cook this chicken breast. I'm going to let it sit here just to be on the safe side for 45 minutes, and then we will move on with the rest of the recipe. Be right back. Okay, so it's been actually about 35 minutes, and I'm going to check and see how this chicken looks. Like I said, I have not tried this before, but I want to cut through the middle and see if it is actually cooked through. Yeah, it's a little pink. I think I'll cut the other one too. See, I'm glad I'd cut this in half down the middle because it was a very thick, yeah, it's not like, I mean, it's a very faint pink. It's not really raw or anything, but I am going to give that another 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will move on. Okay, so it's been another 10 minutes, and it looks good to me. Can definitely smell some of the basil. And the reason I chose basil is because we're doing the Alfredo Italian, and I figured it would go along with it if the chicken had a little hint of that flavor. So that method seems to work, although I would go, because my chicken breasts tend to be a bit bigger than a half pound. I would go for the full 45, and it's nice and tender in there. Now this can be used for anything, chicken salad, soups, whatever. You can use this method. Like I said, this is the first time I've tried it, but it won't be the last. Okay, so I'm just going to chop this chicken up. It can be shredded, it can be, yeah, it comes apart pretty quickly, so I think just using the knife is fine. Now, in the recipe that I got from Cut to Carbs Instagram, it did show using rotisserie chicken, so you can go that route. I don't, just because we don't eat the dark meat, so it's kind of like wasted for us to get a whole rotisserie chicken when all we're gonna want is the breast meat. So I'm just gonna chop this up. You want it in small little bits. I'll finish this and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the chicken broken up over here. I have the printout, and I will have a copy of this down in the description box. I'm not writing it up on my own blog because it's not my recipe. It's from Cut to Carb, and I will also link their website. This is not sponsored by them. I just thought it sounded interesting and thought I would try it, and thought maybe you guys would be interested as well. So for the wrap portion, they ask for 2 Cut to Carb flatbreads. As I said, I have the Joseph's Flax, oat bran, and whole wheat lavash bread. 1/2 of one of these is just 1 bite or Old Blue Point. It calls for 2 tablespoons of butter melted. I'm not using that, I'm using butter spray. And it also calls for 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. So for the filling part of this, they wanted 1 rotisserie chicken shredded. As you saw, I cooked 1 pound of chicken breast, a little over a pound, and I shredded that. 2 cups of broccoli that I'm going to cook in the microwave in just a moment and then chop up. 1/2 cup of part-skim ricotta, I don't use the part-skim ricotta. I don't even use fat-free ricotta because I found that this fat-free cottage cheese is lower in bites or points for me. And that's a store brand, local Stop and Shop, or in other parts of the Northeast, it's called Giant. But I use that because it's the lowest bites and points. So that's one change I made. Another change, on here they have 1 cup of Alfredo sauce for just the filling. Now I'm using this Classico, which is only 2 bites for a 1/4 cup. I've seen some, I forget what the name of the other one was, Bertolli maybe, that was actually 5 for the same amount. So definitely scan and check, make sure that these are coming up accurately by checking the nutrition facts. But 3 bites difference is a big savings as far as I'm concerned. But to save even more, I'm going from 1 cup that they ask for to just 3/4 cup, because I wanted to bring the original, if you do it the way they have it, came up as 7 bites. And I wanted to drop that, so I brought it down to 5. And that was one of the changes I've made. I'll go over the other ones in a moment. I have a 1/3 cup of shredded parmesan, which I wrote on here is 16 grams, just in case you wanted to weigh it out to make sure. I need salt and pepper and a little extra garlic for the filling. For the topping, after it bakes for like 20 minutes, you're gonna put on a topping. They called for 1/3 cup of Alfredo sauce for the top, but I reduced that to a 1/4 cup just because it'll give you some of that, but it'll also help me drop those bites or points. 1 cup of shredded mozzarella. I am, of course, using fat-free. Now, I have the PAM here, the cooking spray, because if you've seen before, whenever I put like on a pizza or anything, you have to spray, or you should, spray your mozzarella, fat-free cheddar cheese, whatever it is, any fat-free cheese. If you spray it with some cooking spray, there's fats in here will help it to melt much more smoothly like regular cheese. Now they call for 2 strips of bacon that are crisped and crumbled. I am not using the bacon because that drops it by 1 bite. So I've decided to omit the bacon. It's not standard in chicken broccoli Alfredo anyways, so I didn't think it was that big of a thing to miss out on. You can add that if you want. And then some basil chopped, and I'm just gonna use the same lightly dried basil that I used in the liquid for the chicken. So that's all they have on here. I've decided, because I used some pimentos for something else, I'm gonna throw a few pimentos in. It's not gonna change the bites. I don't think it'll really alter the calories all that much, so I'm not worried about it. But that's not part of this. I just decided to throw that in on my own. Okay, so I have the oven preheated to 400 degrees. It says oil the dish of your choice. They used a cast iron skillet. I am using this here, little casserole dish. It'll do the same thing, and I can throw it in the dishwasher. You can't do that with cast iron. First things first, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of water into my broccoli here. And I'm going to cover it back up with the plastic wrap and throw it in the microwave for about 3 minutes. And then I will check it and see if it's soft enough to chop up even more. So let me get some water in here. I will nuke this for 3 minutes and we will see where we stand. Okay, while that is going, I am going to blend up my cottage cheese to get that ricotta consistency that I'm looking for. And it called for 1/2 cup. So throw that in. And this little machine, for a little machine, it gets quite loud. So I am going to just skip through my blending it. I'm sure you've seen people blend things before, and just show you the consistency. Well, you know what cottage cheese looks like, the little lumps. I am not a fan of cottage cheese because of that texture, but once I pulse it in here, it doesn't bother me in the least. So if you are also not a fan of cottage cheese, try blending it and using it like a ricotta. It won't bother you in the least. All right, so let me blend this up and I'll be back. Okay, that is done. And you can see here the consistency much smoother than cottage cheese. Like I said, I use this all the time in place of ricotta. And if you saw my faux cannoli recipe, if you didn't, I will put a card up here and leave a link in the description box. That one I use this in all the time and it is delicious. And you're not even cooking it in there. Still doesn't give me a problem. Just to sit and eat cottage cheese, can't do it. This way, I'm fine. All right, so the broccoli is out. And definitely whenever you open anything like this that's been cooking, that's steamed, open away from you so the steam doesn't fly up into your face and burn you by chance. Now you want this fairly soft because you're going to chop it up. And that feels plenty soft to me. So I'm going to dump this out onto my cutting board here. And you can cook your broccoli this way even if you're not doing it for this. Cook it in there 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how much you have in there. And then just add whatever you want to add for flavorings, and it's fine. Let me just put this over here. And so this is going to go into the roll up. You want it kind of fine, so that, not fine, but you want it chopped so that it's little bits that can spread throughout the filling for this roll up. And I probably should have given myself a little more room here, but you know me. Okay, that looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be too finely chopped, just any really big pieces you want to get out of there. And this can go in with the chicken because this filling is all going to go together. So that's going in. Don't need you anymore. So where's my recipe here? Okay, so the rotisserie chicken, the broccoli, the ricotta is going in. Okay, so the ricotta is in. We need the 3/4 of a cup. As I said, it should be 1 cup according to their recipe. I am doing 3/4 of a cup to save myself a bite here. And this is the Alfredo sauce. The Classico is the one I use because it's the lowest that I found. There may be others that are just as low, but I don't know which other ones are low, what the levels are. Okay, the Parmesan cheese. As I said, this is 16 grams or 1/3 cup. And altering this, I tried altering this because Alfredo is basically Parmesan cheese. And I figured you don't need this much, but altering it didn't really alter the bites much. So I figured why not go for that full flavor. Some salt and pepper, which of course I did not bring over. Why would I do that? And pepper, as you may know, we like pepper around here, so I'm gonna do a generous grind of that. And some garlic. Of course, I did not take out my extra garlic, so I'm just gonna eyeball this. We like garlic as well, so this won't be a problem. And this, they don't list any measurements for. I guess they just want you to do it to taste. Let's see, chicken, broccoli, ricotta, Alfredo, Parmesan, salt, pepper, garlic. Okay, this is all going to get mixed together here. And it's, even with 1/4 cup less of the Alfredo, it's still a pretty creamy consistency. So I don't think there'll be any problem with spreading this onto the roll-ups. All right, so that is done. Next step is to work on the flatbreads. So let me move these things out of my way and we will go on with that step. Okay, so in the recipe for this, oh, and I did forget to add the pimentos. Remember I said I wanted to add a few pimentos into the filling? I forgot, so I did do that off camera. But for the flatbreads, what they wanted you to do in the original recipe was melt the butter, mix it with the garlic, and then spread it all over both sides of the flatbread. Now I'm not going to use butter, I'm just going to spray with some butter spray. Add about 1/4 of this to each side, then I'll flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to use a spoon. I was going to get out my pastry brush and I was like, I can just use a spoon and spread it around that way. It's not like everyone has a pastry brush, so why not do it the way other people may be doing it? So I'm just going to try to spread this out. It's not going to be smooth paste like you would have gotten with the melted butter, but I just want that little flecks of garlic dispersed all around the flatbread. I mean, I'm not worried about making it evenly dispersed. And then I will flip them over as they said. Spray this side and just do the same thing. So I'll be back once I've gotten that done. Okay, so the next step, now that I have the flatbreads prepped, is to add half of this mixture, the chicken and broccoli mixture, to each of the flatbreads. And you're going to spread it out, it says from corner to corner, so you don't have to leave any open spots or anything like that. And it says to roll tightly, and doesn't really say which direction you should roll it in. And I mean, I don't think it matters too much, but I think that I'm going to do the roll long ways so that way you get nice thick roll-ups. But let me spread this out and I'll be right back to roll them up. Okay, now I have my pan here sprayed with some cooking spray. I'm going to roll this tightly, it says, to get little spirals, little roll-ups. And then these are going to be cut in half, and then in half again. Now this makes 4 servings, so each serving is one of these roll-ups. I don't think you need to stand them up, so I am not going to do that. I don't remember from the picture how I saw that, but I am doing them this way. Whoops, pulled a little too hard on this flatbread and it snapped off a little bit, but it's just going to be rolled up anyway and tucked in there. Okay, so, and again, about half, and half again. Now this flatbread just did split a little bit right there, but it'll be fine. So I'm going to put this in here in whatever configuration I can get them to fit in. Add any chicken that might have fallen out or broccoli. And let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so this is how I have mine laid out. 2 on the side, 4 down the middle. You can lay it out however you like. I don't think it matters. But as I said, 2 of these would be 1 portion. So this makes 4. Now it's going to go into, now this is bake it, place in the dish and bake it for 20 minutes. I don't need the cover for this. I'm going to put this in for 20 minutes and then we will move on with the next step. I'll be right back. Okay, so this has been 20 minutes. They're getting golden brown. The edges are getting a little brown and crispy. Now the last step is to do the topping, which is the 1/4 cup of Alfredo sauce, or 1/3 cup that they had said, and 1 cup of the fat-free mozzarella. And I am using some basil. They just have you sprinkle it on at the top after you've taken it out the second time. I'm just going to put a pinch or 2 in with the Alfredo sauce just so it gets all over the place. And since this is slightly dried, I want it to have a little time with some moisture and heat. So the first thing we do, mix that in. If you didn't add the basil, you obviously don't have to mix this. And then it says drizzle on the Alfredo. So I'm just going to spoon it on each one as evenly as I can, just to get a little, I mean, it's full of Alfredo, so it's not like this is the only place it's getting that flavor. But I'm going to spread it out as evenly as I can first on each of these roll-ups. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to sprinkle on the mozzarella and try to get them focused on the roll-ups so that they're not like in an empty spot doing nothing at all. That looks good. Now I hope that these are very good. I'm going to test them later with Paul and our grandson. So I have the mozzarella on, and now as I said, you want to spray that with some cooking spray so that the fat of the cooking spray will help it to melt more like regular mozzarella. Now it is going back in the 400-degree oven for 5 minutes, and I'll be back when I bring them out. Okay, so there we have it. You can see that the cheese is nicely melted. That cooking spray really does make all the difference. Now this looks very good, but I will have to tell you after we have tried it this evening. As I said, never had this before, never made it before. But I see a lot of potential for other things. I could see doing like a lasagna roll-up, a cheeseburger roll-up, change things up and make it into something else. So this looks good, smells great, but let me tell you about the bites and calories and macros as I did this. Now, as I said, the original recipe that Cut the Carb had listed, and again, I'll have that in the description box below, came out to 7 bites or old Blue Points. I didn't calculate the calories or macros on the original version because I wasn't making that one, so I stuck with just manipulating the bites and points. But if you are following calories, 2 of these roll-ups would be 378 calories. And if you are following macros, the fat would be 10.5 grams, the carbs would be 21.3 grams, and the protein would be 50.1 grams. And again, that's as I made it, and I used the Joseph Lavash, the oat, flax, and something or other, not the Cut the Carb flatbread. So I'm not sure what their calculations would be, but you should always put things into the recipe builder as you are using them, just to make sure you get an accurate measure. And I will be doing a tutorial for the Healthi app using the recipe builder, as well as one for editing foods in case you'd rather weigh them than measure them. So those are coming up. I have them in the works. They probably won't be on a Wednesday or Friday. I'll probably throw those up on maybe a Monday. But those should be coming up soon because I've had a lot of people ask me questions on how to do those things. And while I'm not an expert, I do know how to calculate things, edit things, and add things into the recipe builder, so I can show you that much at least. So I will probably either insert myself in a video clip here, or I will put a little comment down here telling you whether we liked it or not, and whether that was a unanimous decision or not. But they look good, they smell good, and we shall see. So again, I will have this recipe down in the description box. Since it's not mine, I will not be putting it on my blog, but all of my other recipes will be found on the blog, and that can be found in the description box, a link to that under the Interact With Me section. And you can go there for any of my recipes. This one will be in the description box, written up as Cut to Carb did it, and then I will put my notations next to the items of what I changed to get my calculations. So I hope you enjoyed this video coming along with me for a ride with a new recipe. And if you did, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share this video if you think there's someone out there who would be interested in something like this. I would appreciate if you share it with them. And hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. Also, comment down below, have you tried Cut to Carb flatbreads or any of their products? What did you think of them? I, as I said, have not ordered any. I don't believe they are in stores, but if they are in stores, if you've seen them there, let me know where. Not that, I mean, only in New England really helps me, but it might help someone else who is looking for them if you mention it down below. So I'd better get this served up and taste tested so that I can let you guys know how it was. So until next time, bye.